Hi guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to go over the books that I read in January. Okay, so I read 7.5 books in January. I'm counting, I'm going to say 8 because I'm pretty much done with the 8th one, but not fully, so I will kind of count it because I'm more than halfway. So let's get started. The first one I read is called Codename Helene by Ariel Lahan, and I've never read a book by her before. This is the first one. And it's a historical fiction about a girl named Nancy Wake, and she is an Australian woman, and she ends up living in Paris because she gets married to a man. And then right after she gets married, World War II starts, and he has to go away. So she's like, well, I'm not just going to sit home and wait for you. I want to be a part of getting to the end of this war. She wants to help people. So this is her journey about how she helped, what she did, everything she experienced. And the way the book is written is nice, I thought, because it's 2 timelines. So it follows her when she's first starting out, before the war even happened. So we kind of get her background a bit. And then it kind of meets in the middle. You find out, like, you start off the beginning of the book with her jumping out of a plane. And that's during World War II when she's trying to help other people. So I really enjoyed that book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. If you like historical fiction, this is a really good one. Okay, the second book that I read was Starfish by Lisa Phipps, and I got this from a book club that I recently joined on Facebook, but I heard about it through the Curly Reader. Her name's Amanda. If you've ever been to her channel, you probably have. But yeah, so this is written in verse, and it's about a 5th grade girl who struggles with people teasing her based on her weight. It all started when she wore a whale swimsuit to her birthday party, and her sister made a joke about a whale, and ever since then it caught on, and it was just what she was known by at that point, and it really affected her to where she had big girl rules and rules that she lived by to avoid people making fun of her, basically, even though it happened anyway. So it's just a really good middle grade book about loving yourself regardless of all the mean things that are being said to you, or even things that you're going through with your family based on the same issue. So I have a 5th grader, and she's currently reading this, and she likes it so far. And I do like that it is written in verse, and it is really easy to read for that age. So if you have anyone you know who's a middle grader, this is a really good book for them to read as well. Okay, and then the next book I read is Finlay, Donovan is Killing It by Ellie Casamano. And this is just a really fun mystery book. It's about a woman who is recently divorced. She's a writer, and she really is struggling to pay her bills, pay her rent. She has a meeting with her agent at a Panera, and so she's a mystery book writer. So she's writing a story about someone getting killed, I think, or something like that. And this lady overhears them and thinks that she's a hitman. So she leaves her a note with her name, and she tells her she will pay her $50,000 if she kills her husband for her. And Finlay tries to explain, like, this is a mistake. I am not who you think I am. But then the lady tells her where her husband's going to be that night. Finlay shows up. She doesn't expect anything of it. She just kind of wants to see who she's talking about, basically. And she sees that he's on a date with a girl, and she's like, okay, well, people cheat. That doesn't mean you should kill them, you know? And then when the lady goes to the bathroom, he puts something in her drink. And then she starts to get worried. So she somehow makes a commotion, gets over there, and switches the drink so that he ends up drinking it. Then she has to get him out of the club before he passes out. So she brings him into her minivan and she gets him there, thankfully, right before he passes out. And that's all I'm going to say. Because then it takes on a whole whirlwind of new problems and new things that happen. And I just want you to read it because it was a 5-star read. It was really good. So I don't want to give anything away. And the reason I read this one is because I got the new one from NetGalley, an audiobook version. The audiobook version for both of them are really good. So I alternated between both for the first one, and for the second one I only had the audio since it's not out yet, and it's really good. But it's February, so actually the second one is out now. But that one is called Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead. And I love that one just as much. So it goes on based on the last story. So I don't really want to say much about it because I want you to just read them both because they're so fun and just a lighthearted mystery. And it's not like, it's just a really fun book to read. It kind of reminded me of Desperate Housewives, that show that was around like years ago, just because of the mystery aspect and like the funniness of just like a regular mom just going through all these things that she kind of didn't have control over. And yeah, so I think you will enjoy those. The other book that I don't have a copy of was also an ARC copy. It came out last month though, and it's called The Saints of Swallow Hill. And that is a historical fiction. I forgot who it's by, but I will put a picture of it in the corner. And it is following two people, Dell and Helene, and it talks about how they grew up. Well, a little bit. It talks about their past, and then they meet on this turpentine field for work. But Helene is disguised as a man. But then later on, Dell finds out it's a woman because of some events that happen on the plant that they're working at. And this is a very bad time. It's during the Great Depression. The workers were treated bad. They were paid really low. And they decide to leave. Not really together. Helene decides to leave with someone. And then that same night, Dell sees them leave and he leaves. And yeah, it just talks about how their paths crossed. And it goes into what happens afterwards, after they worked on that field. And you also get the history of why Helene was there and why Dell was there. And I don't really want to give anything away, but I really enjoyed. I just had the audiobook of that as well, and it was really good and easy to follow. And I gave it 5 stars as well. So if you like historical fiction, and also that book is compared to Where the Crawdads Sing and The Four Winds combined. So I read both of those books and I can definitely see the correlation between the three. So if you like those books, I definitely recommend picking that up as well. Okay, then the next 3 books I actually have on hand. So I read The Secret Garden on 81st Street. It's a graphic novel. It's by Ivy Noel Weir. And I really loved this book. It's about a girl who loses both of her parents in an accident. However, she's not really sad about it because they left her alone a lot. She has to be moved to New York City, which she's not used to all the noise and everything. She moves there with her uncle, and he's never home. He's gone for months at a time. And so she's exploring on her own, and then the lady who stays at the house to kind of care for the house for her uncle tells her about a secret garden that's upstairs that has never been touched since her uncle's husband died. And she's curious about it, so she ends up going up there and sees how everything's run down at that point. And she's bored. And even though she's told not to go up there, she ends up trying to fix it. And she meets a couple boys along the way. And I won't tell you exactly their stories because that's part of the big picture of the story. And it is a graphic novel, so I don't want to give anything away. But that's basically the gist of it. So it was a really quick read. Like, I read it probably in, I was doing other stuff, but probably you can read this in an hour. And it's really good. I have, like I said, my daughter. I like to get books that I can read and then she can read as well. So she also read this too and she really liked it. Okay, then we have The Girl Who Drank the Moon. And I read this for the Buzzword Challenge hosted by Books and Lala. And I really liked it. So, like I said, I don't really read fantasy, but this had fantasy elements to it, and I actually really enjoyed it. Like, I wanted to read it since the first page. It was a really easy book to get involved in. So, basically, it's about this village who they say has like a casting of sorrow over it all the time. So, basically, what the village people believe, or at least some of them, the ones who aren't in on the problem, I will say, they believe that there's a witch in the woods that surrounds them because they're surrounded by a woods, and then on the other side of the woods is another village. So they believe that there's a witch in the woods who is really mean, and the only reason she hasn't attacked the whole village is because they sacrifice the youngest child every year to this witch. And they say she kills the baby. And so, that's really sad. But there is a witch in the woods, and her name is Zan, and she is the nicest witch. So she's not evil at all. Every year that they give her this child, she takes it across the other village, and the other village is so happy, and they welcome the kids with open arms, and the kids live a happy life. So the one time she does it, she's carrying the baby, and I believe she feeds it Starlight so to go through the journey to the other side of the woods. But on this particular child in the picture, she accidentally gives her moonlight, and that gave her magical powers. So Zan is stuck keeping the baby. So it goes on how she grows up, how her magic gets stronger, and the things that Zan has to do to keep her safe from harming herself because she's so young with all these great powers. And it's just a really fun book to read. It has the Newbery Medal, and I recommend this book. I also gave this 5 stars as well. It was a really good reading month for me. Everything I read was 5 stars, so I'm really happy with that. Okay, and then the last and final book that I read but did not fully finish, I'm still reading it, is The Last House on the Street by Diane Chamberlain. This book is really interesting. So it follows 2 people. In 1965, we follow Ellie Hockley, and she's from North Carolina, Round Hill, North Carolina, which is a small town. Well, she decides to try to help with civil rights. So she decides to work for this organization where they go into African American neighborhoods and try to get them to vote. But her parents, she's a white student because she's not really a child, but she's in her 20s. And her parents do not like the thought of her doing that, and they are really upset with her. So, but she does it anyway because she doesn't care. She feels badly about how they don't feel like they can vote because they can lose their jobs, or they get beaten at the courthouse, anything, like, bad things happen if they try to go vote. So she understands that it's not easy as, okay, they can just go do it. So she ends up going anyway. A bunch of different things happen to her on this journey. She ends up falling in love with somebody. And it just really gives her a new look on life. And because she had lived a sheltered life until now. And now she sees, like, she has to live with these families who are living in really bad situations. And she's like, I've never once had to worry about having water, having a shower, having a bathroom. And so it's just her journey on how she dealt with all of that. Also, how it changed her and opened her eyes to a bigger picture. But then, while she was there, a lot of bad things were happening to her family. Her dad is a pharmacist, so he was losing customers because they knew that she was doing that. She was the only girl from the South. All the other kids was from up north, like New York area. But she didn't care. She really wanted to fight for what she thought was right. And it's just a really good story about, it's like a historical fiction meets thriller because it has some ghost elements to it too. So that's where we find out about Kayla. She's in 2010. She moves into Round Hill on the same block that Ellie Hockley's family lived at. So it's her house because it's a new development. All the other houses were tore down except for the Hockley house. It just kind of goes into what happens from there. And Kayla starts to find out the history of where she's living now. And also, Kayla is going through a lot because her husband died while slipping on some nails during the construction of their house. He fell and he died, and he was only 29, and she's left to live in this house with her daughter who's 4. And yeah, so this one is really good. I'm not finished with it. I think I might have like 100 and something pages left, but it's really good. I've never read a Diane Chamberlain book before, and I'm definitely glad that I started off with this one. So thank you for listening. Sorry for the interruption, but if you have kids, you understand. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos. Okay, say bye.
Okay, bye.